This is really Just Stop. Here's Ross, the host with today's dose of common sense.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Hi. All right, so for a quick recap of what's going on, for those of you who tuned in to the last show, my father did pass away just a couple of days after I recorded that show, so we were busy with all of those things. Thank you for your offers of sympathy and all that other stuff. He did go quietly in his sleep, so if you're going to go, that's a good way, I suppose. So all of that is over, the funeral and all of the other things. We still have a lot going on with other people. We have other people we have to take care of, and we're doing that. But I think I'm going to be able to get back on a regular schedule with a lot of things like my exercise routine and doing the podcast and things like that. But I appreciate those of you who've stuck around during this kind of hiatus that I've been on because of what's been going on in our life. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching or listening to this one. I really appreciate it. And today we're going to talk about some weird stuff because we're going to talk about mass surveillance. Yay, mass surveillance. It's been a topic of conversation for decades, so this isn't anything new. But lately there have been additional things that have gone on that have been concerning to people. There's been a lot of talk about the flock cameras. And if you don't know what those are cameras that can be mobile mounted on a vehicle, a police vehicle or something, or they can be mounted on a pole, just like a surveillance camera. And they are cameras, but they are designed to recognize vehicle makes and models and capture license plates. So while you're just driving around minding your own business, the government's out there getting all your information. And there was a case recently that it's kind of funny, but it's not, that the police were 100% sure that this poor lady was the person who stole someone's package off of their porch. She was a porch pirate. And they went to her house, banged on the door. You're under arrest for stealing this thing. Here's all the evidence. We've got all this stuff. These flock cameras don't lie, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out it wasn't actually her. She not only had an alibi, thanks to mass surveillance, she had proof that it wasn't her. So that kind of turned out in her favor, but interesting anyway. Another thing that came up recently was the fact that law enforcement can access your Ring cameras, or if you have some other, sort of camera system in your house that stores on the cloud, like most of them do. They're going to get that video. They're just going to talk to Ring and say, hey, I need the video from this date and this time. Show it to me. And apparently Ring is capable of doing that. And they aren't afraid to do it, and they will do it. They'll just surrender that video to law enforcement. And I don't know how I feel about that either. There was a lot going on in the past with data security and privacy and stuff when people were talking about law enforcement can just access your phone information or can just access your social media and do all that without you ever knowing about it. They don't need a warrant. They can just do whatever they want. And those are the aspects of mass surveillance that troubled people a few years ago. It seems like we got past all that. I don't know how, but suddenly we're not that concerned with that, or at least people aren't talking about it. So I guess the deep state, or, the man, because we're going to fight the man, was successful in getting us to ignore that and be concerned about other things like, wars in Iran and Israel and stuff. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Yes, I am. I am. But only about certain things. So, mass surveillance. For those of you who don't know me, don't know my history, don't know my background, I've been working in the sort of the surveillance, the security, the safety, law enforcement, and even the legal areas of these things for 40 years. So I've experienced mass surveillance in general, and mass surveillance from all sorts of different angles, and had, different opinions about it at different times. Back when I was an investigator, I thought it was awesome because we could track a person all the way back to their vehicle after they committed some sort of a crime, right? Where you could go from this camera, now let's pull up the footage from this other camera and this camera, and you could basically use it to backtrack and see where people came from, see where they went after, things like that. Now, back in those days, you were pretty much reliant upon private systems. So different retailers would have systems that were set up. So if you had a friendly relationship with them, you might be able to corporation to corporation, get them to give you some of that video or show you that or whatever, or get law enforcement to convince them to turn it over, those sorts of things. So sometimes we overlapped. Different organizations would be in the same area, and so the cameras would overlap each other. And, if you were working at, say a Walmart and as loss prevention, but you're in the same parking lot the same lot as like a Lowe's home improvement, the person may have parked down by Lowe's before coming in and stealing $5,000 worth of shit out of your store. And so you're going to go down and, kind of form a partnership with Lowe's, and you're going to share information and all that other stuff. And we even formed organizations at different times in different cities that I was in, where the different retail organizations would come together and have meetings and share information, share data, share advancements in things that they've learned, things that they've developed, and share information on organized theft groups, things like that. So some organizations have nationwide contacts and different things, but back in those days, that was pretty much the extent of it. There weren't like a lot of surveillance cameras in the towns and the cities or on the streets. Now, I had, prior to that, I had been stationed in Germany for 3 years. Loved it. I loved that country. I had a great time there. I would go back in a heartbeat if someone else would pay for it, like they did the first time. But they had surveillance. They had, what would you call them, speeding cameras. They had these autonomous cameras that would just, if you triggered the radar, it would snap a picture of your car with your license plate number, and they would send you the ticket. And it was my first experience with that. I grew up in California. We didn't have that in California. We didn't have it anywhere here in the United States that I was aware of at that time anyway. That was in the 80s. So that was an interesting thing to encounter, that they would just have a camera positioned on the road and snap. It didn't even have to be a policeman nearby or anything. They would just take a picture of your car and mail you the ticket. And you did have to pay it. And especially us military guys, we had to make sure that we didn't have any kind of fines or anything outstanding, or they wouldn't let you leave the country whenever it was time for you to ETS and go somewhere else. But the use of surveillance at like intersections and speeding cameras like that and things like that sort of came along slowly. And next thing you know, all of these, everybody's business has surveillance cameras. Everybody's federal buildings, every state, federal, local government building has surveillance cameras. Everybody has CCTV. Everybody is recording it onto a digital video recorder, or back when it was just a VCR that could do time-lapse recording, all these other technologies that have grown throughout the last few decades, to now it's just storing it on a cloud somewhere, and you can retrieve it from anywhere in the world, or the government can just take it. All of those things that exist now, it wasn't that long ago. I know 40 years ago, 30 years ago seems like a long time ago, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But a lot of those things just didn't exist back then. So as they grew, we didn't fight them. And everybody now is concerned about their privacy, and they're concerned about these flock cameras. And people are going out and chopping down flock cameras, which is funny because you're gonna go cut down this camera. Meanwhile, there's 100 other cameras on that street recording you cutting down this flock camera. So, good job. You're getting rid of the flock camera, but now you're going to prison. And they'll probably figure out a way to make it a felony, and you'll be in big trouble. But surveillance is so ubiquitous in our society today, you can't go anywhere without being photographed, videotaped, recorded in some way, several dozen times a day. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're going. If you leave your house, you are at risk of being surveilled. Now, for the most part, that doesn't mean anything. You're just driving down the road, but your car is being recorded. You may not know it, but somewhere your car was just captured. You're going to go into the bank. You've been videotaped. You've been, recorded. You've been photographed, everything else. You walk into your local drugstore, and they even have the size measurement thing on the doorway so they know how tall you are when you walk through the doorway. And those types of innovations were so we could get better descriptions of people whenever they robbed a place. They would have to walk through the door, and you would have an automatic, height measurement right there. You say, well, this person was about 6'2", the guy who robbed the store, instead of guessing. Because as you've all heard probably numerous times, eyewitnesses are not very reliable. I do have a story. I don't know if I've told it on the podcast before, but I do have a story about how unreliable eyewitnesses can be, because the unreliable witness was me. So it's embarrassing, but it happens. So maybe I'll tell that story some other time if I haven't already. So the people ask all the time, what can we do about it? Well, your data isn't secure anymore. Your person isn't secure anymore. You're being, recorded all the time. The government can access your phone calls. They can access your Ring camera systems or whatever else you have. They can access your data out of your computer. What you're doing online. They can do all these things at the push of a button, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so here's what you can do about it. Nothing. It's too late. If you wanted to do something about this, you needed to do it back in the 80s before it got out of control. And we didn't. Nobody did anything about it. We expressed concerns, and, certain politicians expressed concerns, but they didn't get anywhere. They didn't go anywhere. Nobody made it a big enough deal that they would say, no, we're going to stop these companies from doing this. So right now, it's legal because the government says it's legal for people to just steal your life, essentially. Everything you do is being recorded, it's being logged, and then that information is being sold to other people so that they can target you for advertisements and marketing and get you to sell, get you to buy other people's shit, somebody's cheap Chinese garbage, made by slave labor in some little smelly building. So it's too late. The government has already said it's okay. We've already said it's okay. We didn't throw a big enough fit over it when it started happening, so nobody stopped it from happening. So that's where we are. You're just fucked. It's basically the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it now. And here's a little tidbit of information for you that a lot of people don't understand when they start talking about mass surveillance and being recorded and things like that, is that technology was invented by the Nazis. The Siemens Corporation invented the first CCTV system for the Nazis, and it was invented so that they could monitor rocket launches without having to be too close to the launch pad because they sometimes just blow up. So Siemens Corp invented a closed-circuit television system so that the Nazis could monitor rocket launches. After that, the Remington Rand Corporation invented a closed-circuit television system that was commercially available. I forget what it was called. It started a V or something like that when I was reading about it. But that was the start of it all. And that was all during World War II. So we're a little too late. That was a long time ago, and we're not going to be able to take any of that back. It's too late. Surveillance is everywhere, and you're being watched all the time. If you leave your house, actually, if you're still inside your house. Now, here's another thing that you'll have to look at. There are ways that they can surveil the inside of your house without having to put a camera inside your house. And it has to do with Wi-Fi signals and the way Wi-Fi bounces off of things. If they can tap into your router, they can essentially turn it into a sonar so they can sort of see inside your house. And you are not safe from surveillance unless you are completely unplugged from the outside world and lock yourself in your house and, I don't know, maybe build a Faraday cage around your house or inside your room. You're not safe from surveillance. And because you're out in public spaces, there's nothing you can do about it. If they want to take pictures of you all day, it's illegal. And it's too late. That's about all I can say about it, is that it's too late. So it's just going to get worse. They're going to use your data, and they're going to be able to apply that to, or match it up with photographs or videos or whatever. And it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until nothing you do is private anymore. And there are no secrets, and it's all going to be for greed and for, helping make rich corporations even richer. We are a commodity. We are the chickens in the farm, where we are simply being bred and trained and taught what to do so that the massive corporations can continue to make money off of us. That's it. That's all of it. That's the whole story. The billionaires who are running this world, which is just not cool, because they're all like fucking evil people. All of them. It's really weird that people revere these people. Like Peter Thiel. I mean, God, the guy's a fucking creep. He looks like he's melting all the time. He's sweating so bad. He sweats profusely for apparently no reason. It's probably the demon trying to claw its way out of him, or whatever, you want to call it. I'm exaggerating. I'm making a joke of it, folks. But Peter Thiel is the Antichrist. And that's all you need to know. He's the Antichrist. But Palantir and all the other companies that are doing mass surveillance stuff, they're making it easier for the government to do it. And, 9/11, the whole Patriot Act thing, it all just eroded our rights to privacy. They even know what library books you're checking out now, because that was part of the Patriot Act. They're going to surveil what books you read to make sure that you're not reading the wrong kind of books. Like down there in Florida, if you got a book that talks about them homosexuals, then you're in big trouble down there, boy. You ain't supposed to have that in them libraries, because, we all know that homosexuals don't exist as long as we ignore them. I don't know what Florida's deal is, but, Florida, my only knowledge of Florida is Scarface and Miami Vice. That's it. Well, I guess Burn Notice, because that was in Florida as well, right? Yeah, that was in the Miami area. So that's the sum total of my knowledge of Florida, other than a whole bunch of rednecks live down there too, and Cubans. I don't know, but I'm serious. The only thing I really know about Florida is Burn Notice, Miami Vice, and Scarface. So I don't know what those people are smoking down there, but, they're trying to impose some sort of, I don't know, like religious code or something in people. In Florida, like one of the wildest places on the planet. And the same thing's happening in Texas and other stupid places like Oklahoma. I used to live in Oklahoma, so I have a right to talk about Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you are fucking up in a serious fucking way. I don't know what you guys are smoking out there, but Jesus Christ, you guys were already like the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, the whole rusty thing, or at least one of the holes in the leather. And it's ridiculous what you're doing now. There were no tattoo parlors when I lived there a long time ago. There weren't any tattoo parlors in the state because it was illegal. Just like there weren't any places where you could buy pornography. It was illegal. And so the only thing that did was drove people to the border, where they would, drive to the border with Kansas or Arkansas or Texas. And you could hop right over the border, and there would be a big barn there where you could buy all of those things and get a tattoo and do all that stuff. And you're literally less than a mile inside the Texas border. So, it just drove business outside of the state because people wanted to get tattoos, and everybody wants pornography. So I don't know what's happening there, but I know that it's embarrassing, and, I would not live there. They're trying to force the Christian religion on everyone in the state, and it's wrong. I don't care what your religion is, but you can't force other people to be that or abide by your rules. This isn't fucking Saudi Arabia, but you guys are getting really close to making it like Afghanistan, which is not good. If you didn't know that, it's not good. So mass surveillance is here to stay. It's too late to do anything about it. The only way you're going to not be seen, even from above, is if you get somewhere like in a black forest in Germany or something where the canopy is so thick, maybe the rainforest down there where the canopy is so thick that they can't see you through the canopy. And if you don't know about those places, like in the Black Forest in Germany, you quite literally could not see your hand in front of your face at night. It was pitch black, like you were in a tunnel underground, kind of pitch black. And it was amazing. It was really kind of cool to experience that. But I liked hanging out there in the woods at night during our exercises and stuff. But mass surveillance, you're screwed. You waited too many decades to do anything about it, and you're not going to do anything about it now. And the next thing that happens is going to make you forget about the thing that just happened. So the next level of surveillance and violation of privacy is going to make you forget that you were upset about this previous, violation of our privacy and our rights. And it's just going to keep going that way until you realize that you don't actually have any rights to privacy. And the government gets to tell you how the world is going to be day in and day out. And eventually, we're already at the tyranny level. We've been at the tyranny level for a long time. So I don't want to hear anything from these militia wackos and all you fucking 3%ers and stuff who've been talking about, we're here to stand up against tyranny. Well, where the fuck have you been? I don't know. You haven't done a damn thing about any of it. Whether it doesn't matter who's been in office, we've been suffering under tyranny to begin, for a while now. And it has nothing to do with one political party or another. The goal is tyrannical rule over us because we are farm animals. That's all that they think about us. So none of you have done anything about it. So the government thinks it's fine. And they're just going to keep doing it. Right now we have a president that's enriching himself to the tune of billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. You motherfuckers got upset about Hunter Biden selling a couple of bad paintings. And you've got a whole fucking family of people in Washington, D.C. selling cryptocurrencies, selling fucking watches that aren't even real good watches. They're cheap Chinese crap. And being involved in mining contracts that their people in the government are in charge of granting, and they are simply just ridiculously robbing this nation's wealth while having all the political power right there in Washington, D.C. And if you don't understand that, if you haven't seen that happening, you're fucking stupid, because that's exactly what's going on. They are raping the United States. All of those cronies, that crony capitalism that everybody's heard about, all those idiots up in Washington, D.C. are too stupid to tie their own shoes. They are getting incredibly rich because we allowed them to be in charge of things up there. And to them, it's just another scam. It's just another way to rob everybody. The same way they've done business since they, graduated from college or whatever. They've all been crooks their whole fucking lives. They're all a bunch of liars and cheats. Scam artists, all of them. I don't think there's an honest politician on this planet, to be honest with you. I just don't. Nobody with ethics and morality and integrity runs for political office. Why would you? Because just having to pander to people like this would violate your ethics and your morality and your integrity. Just having to be in the same room with them and not say, hey, you're a fucking crook. And I don't understand why you're Secretary of War, because you're a fucking moron. Nobody can say that because all of a sudden your career is over. They just get rid of you. They'll, or just murder you or something, whatever they're going to do. They'll get rid of you one way or another and shut you up. So there's nothing you can do. And that's a rant that I'm going off on. I'm way off topic right now, but it has a lot to do with mass surveillance because these are the same people who are going to figure out every way they can to steal everything that you produce, your data, everything about you that they can sell to other people and get richer. And Peter Thiel is the Antichrist. Actually, I don't think he's the Antichrist because I don't believe there is an Antichrist. I just think he is, he's a comic book villain, just like a lot of them are. Jared Kushner, comic book villain. Donald Trump, comic book villain. You know, you guys are worried about who left their cocaine at the White House. You people literally lost your fucking minds over stupid shit like that. And you're supporting what's happening now. Jackbooted thugs literally on the streets of the United States. That was a term I used to hear all the time when I was younger. Oh, when the jackbooted thugs come along, us militia types, we're going to be the ones standing against. No, the fuck you aren't. You haven't done anything. Not once when the Clintons militarized the police, when the Bushes militarized the police, when they started unleashing federal agents on city streets to try and enforce immigration laws nowhere near the border, when they, start shooting American citizens who are protesting those actions. None of you have done a goddamn thing. So all of those people that you've talked to your whole life, all those people walking around with a 3%er tattoo and all that other shit, they're all a bunch of losers. They're all a bunch of liars and cowards. But the point is, they weren't against tyranny. They just wanted their tyrant. They didn't want someone else's tyrant. They wanted a tyrant that they wanted. Someone like a Donald Trump, who somehow, for some reason, makes them feel better about themselves. And, I'm sure I'm going to take a lot of heat about this. I don't do a whole lot of politics stuff on here, but the things that have been going on in this world the last few years are just, it's infuriating to me. And everyone is just sitting there watching it happen. Like, I can't understand how all these other NATO leaders, these are other leaders of nations, powerful nations, powerful allies of ours, will sit there at a NATO summit and have Trump disparage another member of NATO and call them crooked, and no, we're going to fuck them over and do all this other stuff without saying, hey, knock it off. You don't run the world. You don't get to just dictate to all of us other countries how things are going to be. Because he thinks he runs the world. He doesn't think he's the president of the United States. He thinks he's the president of the globe. And that's the way he acts. And that's the way people are letting him act. They're letting him commit crimes while in office, literally commit crimes while in office. And when he leaves office, people are going to go after him and everybody else, and then they're going to cry about it. See, they're going to come after us. They weaponized the thing. And it's going to be ridiculous because it's going to be the only time in my life, other than Richard Nixon probably, and probably Iran-Contra, where it's going to be justified to try to put a president in prison. I didn't support trying to put Trump in prison before. I thought he should pay for whatever crimes and frauds that he committed. But, you're not going to just arrest a president for things like that and throw him in federal prison or anything. But this might be the only time where I might support, hey, throw the president in prison when he leaves office. You can't do it while he's in office. There's some kind of weird rule. I don't even understand what that is. But it's insane. And if you try to defend it and say, oh, it's not what's happening, you're not fucking paying attention because it's right there in your face on the news every day. So fuck you and your stupid ignorance of what's going on. You weren't against tyranny. You just wanted to make sure your tyrant was the one in charge. That's it. So you can stop calling yourselves patriots, and you might want to go get your 3%er tattoo covered up, or, leave the NRA, or I don't know, quit your militia in Michigan, or, get that infidel tattoo covered up because you aren't Billy Badass like you claim you are. You're just a guy who's going to roll over and take it just like everybody else, apparently. So, it's not impressive. So, boy, am I going to take a lot of shit for this one. But anyway, it's been a while, and I've got a lot of pent-up aggravation, apparently. And I've been through a lot lately, so I'm just venting. And if you all hate me because of it, no, fuck you. I don't care. Actually, I do care. I don't want any of you to hate me. I don't care if you hate me. I really don't. I don't know any of you, so I don't hate you. I don't have feelings about it one way or the other. Except my friend Ed, if he's listening. I don't even think my friend Ed listens to my show. So It's fine. I can just say whatever I want. None of my family listens to the show. I don't have any friends who listen to the show. It's not really a show. I don't even know why I call it a show. But anyway, I've talked enough for one day. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to start doing these shows again regularly and stuff. I need to get back into the game. You know, the hiatus was necessary, and it really was for our mental and emotional health. So anyway, I'm going to try to get back into the routine, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Really? Just Stop with your host, Ross. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss a dose of some common sense.